So, hi guys, welcome back to Irish Footy Vlogs, and this is your first division prediction show for 2025. I'm going to start from 10th and work my way up to first. Now, just remember, guys, this is my opinion. There's a good chance, a very good chance, I'm completely wrong here. So, let us know your opinions in the comments. But we'll get straight into it. 10th and bottom of the pile. And I hate doing this to any club, but I think it's going to be Longford Town. Longford Town, good club, but in the last couple of years have really fallen back, haven't they? Wayne Groves has a big job in his hands there, in my opinion. Obviously, Kerry FC, since they came into the league and finished bottom twice in a row. We'll get on to them later, obviously. But Longford came second bottom last year, really struggled. They've lost a lot of experienced players, I feel. The likes of Wixit, Jordan Adeyemo has gone, Bastian Heary has gone, Shane Elworthy. Big loss there for them too. They've brought in players like Joshua Gergie has come back to the club, so that's a plus. Manny Milongo has come in from Drogheda United, for example. Andrew Spain from Kerry themselves. And I don't know, it just looks like to me that their squad is potentially weaker than it was last year, and they finished ninth. They have kept a lot of good players, the likes of Oisín Hand, Emery Topku, Daniel Norris, who I class as key players. I'm going to give my key player for three key players for each club, actually, who I personally think are key players for the season ahead. And I do think they're key players. Emery Topku is a good player, he's a good footballer, so they'll want him to obviously kick on a bit next season. Oisín Hand's got the experience. Daniel Norris is a good winger, can play up front too. But yeah, I think it's going to be a very difficult season for Longford Town. Even if they don't finish bottom, I really don't give them a chance of finishing in the playoffs. Now, in ninth place, I've gone for this team here, Finn Harps. I think Murphy has a very difficult task in hand up there. I think last season he steadied the ship a bit, but I think their budget was very, very low. They've basically no budget up there. And with other budgets improving, particularly in the first division, it's very, very difficult to get the players in that they want to get in. And a lot of the time you're relying on loan players and hoping they do well. Speaking of loan players, the likes of David I'm going to pronounce this wrong, Azia has come in from Bromley on loan, and an easier one, Anto Dodd, midfield player from St Patrick's Athletic on loan. He is a good footballer, Dodd. Mikey Place has come back to the club, previously been with Ballymena, where he's been playing right back, notably. I wonder if he'll play right back for Harps. So they're just some notable signs. Darren McGuinness from Stoke City, but they've lost some players as well. The likes of Ryan Rainey, I should say, Noah Baba, big loss to Athlone Town. Success Edegon as well to Ballymena United. And the curious signing of Joe Gorman, who left the club within, I'd say, first couple of weeks. We won't get into that one, but they've re-signed the likes of Patrick Ferry, who have down as a key player alongside Anto Dodd and Tony McNamee, who they'll need his leadership going into the season. Also the likes of David Cawley, of course, but McNamee's leadership is going to be important. They'll hope that Dodd can show some of the promise he showed. Pat's underage there too, and Patrick Ferry hopefully will get some goals for them as well. But again, a bit like Longford Town, looks a difficult season, and realistically, where can they finish highest? I don't see them finishing the playoffs, to be honest with you. I think at best they finish above Longford, Kerry, and potentially Treaty. After that, I can't see them finishing any higher. So, unfortunately for Finn Harps fans, I see them finishing ninth in the league. Next up, we go to the Kingdom of Kerry, and Kerry FC, as I mentioned previously, finished bottom in the last couple of seasons, but have had good crowds at their games for a new club. They've really, even though they finished bottom 2 years in a row, there seems to be an element of refreshment with them. They probably have a better budget than the two teams, believe it or not, that I just mentioned in 10th and 9th. But I think they might finish outside bottom this year, and I've gone for them in 8th place, which should be good progress for them, I believe. They haven't lost too many players. The only player of note you'd argue they've lost is Andrew Spain to Longford Town. But, you know, they've signed some interesting signs for sure. Neil Brookwell for a start, or Niall Brookwell, I should say, sorry, from Cork City. Alex Dunn has come in from UCD. They've had players like Tim Oliver-Heimer from Finn Harps, who was their goalkeeper last season. Joe Adams has come in. And Stefan Stanic Floody has come in as well, who people might know, was at Drogheda United before. So, yeah, they haven't lost any real players. They've kept a lot of players. I think that's the biggest thing. Kept a lot of key players. And, talking about key players, Ryan Kelleher, for me, top scorer in the league last year, to keep him. Sean McGrath, who's captained the side again. And Niall Brookwell, I keep saying Niall Brookwell. They're the three key players for me going into the season for Kerry FC. But the fact that you keep, a lot of those key players is massive for Kerry too. And they haven't lost maybe the talent. The Harps, for example, and Longford have lost. So for those reasons alone, I'm going for Kerry FC in 8th place. Now in 7th place, I've gone for Treaty United. And, Tommy Barrett's done a superb job since he's been at the club. When I say since being at the club, he's the only manager they've had in League of Ireland football at Treaty United. And long may that continue. I think Treaty fans will say they'd love to make a push. They'd love to make a push for the playoffs. And I think out of the bottom 4 teams I've mentioned so far, they easily have the best opportunity to do that. They could potentially do that. I'd give them a glimmer to do that. They have lost Enda Curran though. He's a big loss, Enda Curran. Obviously top scorer, previously scored a lot of goals. But they have got Yo-Yo Maddie in at the club. And, Yo-Yo was top scorer last year, and I still think he's capable of scoring goals. And it's the Tommy Barrett effect as well, which has me placing them above the other clubs and in 7th place, and also with a slight thought that they might actually nick a playoff place too. For me, Maddie's one of their key players, Corey Chambers and Lee Devitt, to be fair. And they've brought in some interesting players. Ben Lynch from Wexford has come in, Connor Wilson from Western Suburbs has come in, Joe Hansen, Owen Martin, and Roy Lawler from UCD. As I said, Curran is a loss. Ben O'Riordan, Stephen Christopher and Thomas Considine have all left the club too, and you'd argue they're losses as well, to be fair. But they still have some very good players at the club. Lee Lynch is still at the club as well, so I'd see Treaty United personally finishing in 7th place. Now in 6th place and just outside the playoffs for me is a club that were 90 minutes away from actually getting to the Premier Division last year, and that is Bray Wanderers. They've lost a lot of good players for me. Bray, Harry Groom has gone to this club here, Dundalk. Shane Griffin, the Cobh Ramblers. Kieran Cruz, Drogheda United. Even Darren Craven has gone. He's left for Malahide. Ben Feeney's gone to Athlone. Abadah's gone to Wexford. Magerson, of course, have lost him, and he's gone to Bucharest. So that's a lot of talent that they've actually lost, to be honest with you. So, yeah, I don't know. You just feel with Bray, it's going to be a very difficult season. And if they can get a playoff place, it'd be fantastic. They have retained good players, though, still, to be fair. Like, I've Killian Cantwell, Max Murphy, and Dylan Barnett down as key players. So, to have the leadership, I think, of Killian Cantwell at the back is crucial. Max Murphy's one of the best right backs in the league. Jimmy Corcoran is a very solid goalkeeper. But they've lost an awful lot of talent for me, Bray Wanderers. Then they have obviously signed the likes of Reece Barkley on loan from Pats, to be hoping he does well. Thomas Considine has come in for Treaty, who was a good player there. Kieran Doyle from the Shelburne under-20s. Jordan Talon has come in from Longford Town, also from the Shells 20s. Harvey Warren has come in. They've got Callum Costello on loan, which is a good signing too. But I just don't think the squad is as strong as it was last season at all, actually. Their bench could be a problem as well. So they've lost Cole, obviously, as well. He's left the club too. So, yeah, it looks like it could be a struggle for Bray. I'd give them an outside chance of getting into the playoffs, but I see Bray Wanderers in 6th place. Now in 5th place, this might be a bit controversial. Obviously 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th get into the playoffs, and in many ways a lot of the time it's irrelevant where you get into the playoffs once you get in there and you can find form going into the playoffs, because that's always key. But a lot of people would have this club higher up because of the dealings they've made, and that's Athlone Town. I have them in 5th place. The reason why I have them in fifth place is because I think they've an awful lot of gelling to do. I think pre-season has proved that. I think that's fair to say too. They have signed a lot of good players, to be fair to them, and they are going the right direction. Matt Connor, solid goalkeeper from Waterford. Dean Williams, if he can stay fit, from Shelburne, is a contender for one of the top scorers in the league. They still have the likes of Kyle Robinson up front as well, of course, but they've lost Dean Ebby. But J.R. Wilson has come in, great signing. Noah Baba has come in, Kyle O'Connor, Adam Wixted, both from Longford Town, Declan McDade from Bohemians, Caelan Barlow from Sligo Rovers, Ben Feeney from Bray, Billy Gilmore, young midfielder from Bowes on loan, and Tete has actually signed officially full time for Shamrock Rovers, who was on loan. Last season. They haven't lost too many players, but they've lost two, I would say, key big players. Dean Ebbe, obviously, to Dundalk, and then the Minogue to Dundalk, and they've both gone to Dundalk as well, which is plays into it as well. But yeah, look, they do have a good squad, and Costello's done a good job there. But I just feel like they have to gel. I'll talk about the other two clubs later on, and you'll know what I mean also. But I just feel like there's a lot of gelling to do at Athlone Town. That might take time, and because of that, they may struggle. I could easily see them finishing third, fourth, or fifth. That's where I see them finishing. But I've gone for them in fifth place. Key players for me going into the season: Dean Williams, J.R. Wilson, Declan McDade. And on their day, they're all Premier Division players for sure. J.R. Wilson is certainly a Premier Division player. McDade, very up and down at Bowes, but you'd expect him to do more in the First Division. Williams, if he could get his fitness right, is more than capable of playing in the Premier Division as well. So it's just a case of gelling all these pieces together and getting them to fit. And I think that may take time for Athlone. But if they start well, they're certainly a contender and could well finish higher. But Athlone Town for me in fifth place. The fourth place is a club that people often forget to talk about when they're talking about contenders, but are always up there really, aren't they? UCD. I've gone for UCD in fourth place, and it's just the level of young players they always have coming through. They haven't lost too many players, which is key over the last year. Alex Dunn's gone to Kerry, Hugh Parker's gone to Hull, and Lawler's gone to Treaty. But they haven't lost too many players, and too many players that were making an impact in the first team. So the likes of your, Adam Wells, Aina Clancy, Dara Kavanagh, Adam Vernon, Sean Brennan, Ronan Finn, of course, are still at the club. Mickey Rackett. So they're still at the club. So they've kept their core. They've added some interesting players though. Carl Lennox from Shamrock Rovers, Brian McManus from Bowes, if he can stay fit. Killian Callis from Drogheda United, who's a very young striker and could well have an effect like Whelan had previously or Lonergan had in the last couple of years at the club. So those additions, particularly Callis up front, if he can get firing, I think they lacked that a little last year, a goal scorer, something that they've kind of always had in the last number of years. If Callis can bring that to them, he's a very good young talent, then they certainly will be a threat and they'll be up there. For me, their key players are Killian Callis, I mentioned before, Sean Brennan, very, very tidy midfield player, Sean Brennan, very tidy midfield player, and Aina Clancy at the back, very solid defender too. So they have kept their core for me overall, and Adam McManus must keep him fit though, and Callis could give them a bit more, but I'd be shocked if UCD don't finish in the playoffs at the very least. So for me, UCD in fourth place. In third place is Wexford FC for me, a team that people aren't really talking about for some reason. They'll certainly finish in the playoffs, but I've gone for them in third, and obviously Stephen Elliott has gone in and he's managing the club. He knows the youth systems in the league very well, having worked at St. Patrick's Athletic in that sector, and he brought in a very exciting midfield player from St. Patrick's Athletic alone. That's Luke Kier, a young midfielder, underage Irish international who has an eye for goal. He's also brought in Adam Queally from Waterford on loan, a promising young centre back as well. But the likes of Robbie McCourt has come in, good experience there. Dean Larkin has come in from Cobh, as is Jack Larkin. Ryan Kelly, Shamrock Rovers under 20s. He knows his way around these underage clubs. Josh Lyons come in from Bowes under 20s as well. The likes of Aaron Dobbs still at the club, Lewis Moody, the Levinstons, Mikey Rowe, of course, who's underrated in this league. They have lost some players, which is probably why people aren't talking about them an awful lot. The likes of Lewis Temple, unfortunately, has gone back to Shelbourne. He was very good last year, and Sean McHale went back to Pats and is now with Dundalk. So they've lost players like that. Other key players they've lost are Keane Corbally to Ballymena as well, and Thomas Alua, of course, to Drogheda United. But I still think they've enough where they could finish in the top three. They certainly will get a playoff place. I think last year as well, they made a slow start. So, I think as a club, they're a little bit more settled than they were at the start of last season, in my personal opinion. Ethan Boyle's another player with experience, I suppose, they lost two. But my key players for Wexford going into the season are Aaron Dobbs, of course, Robbie McCourt, and Luke Kerr. So keep an eye on Wexford. They're going under the radar just a wee little bit, but I have them in third place in the league. Now, in second place, I've got Cork City 2. No, I'm only joking. I've got Cobh Ramblers. Of course, Cobh Ramblers have brought in an awful lot of players from Cork City. And it's an interesting dynamic with them and Athlone. A lot of people comparing them. But I think the difference for me personally is that Cobh are bringing players in. First of all, they brought in an awful lot of Cork-based players, or players that played with Cork City as well, which means that an awful lot of these have played with each other before. Also, Cobh, obviously, is only down the road from Cork City as well, so there's no change in possibly living arrangements, etc., etc. But I'll just go through some of the players I've brought in from Cork City, first of all. Cian Murphy, Jack Doherty. Jack Doherty, though, there's an asterisk there, of course, because he's after getting a serious injury out for the season, which is a big pity. Cian Bargery from Cork City, of course. Cian Coleman, the captain of Cork City. Barry Coffey from Cork City. And Jonas Hakkinen, who previously played for Cork City and actually partnered Coleman. So there's a good chance that they might partner each other for Cobh. And not only that, those players bring experience of winning the first division as well, which is huge. Apart from that, though, they've brought back, Shane Griffin, who previously was at Cork City, of course, as well. And he played a lot of games for Shelbourne, who won the Premier Division last year. So he's coming into the fold too. You know, you've Niall O'Keefe from Waterford and Shane Griffin from Bray, who was initially in Waterford's academy as well. Those two players obviously part of the academy. Niall O'Keefe has captained Waterford FC. So they've a backbone. Not only are they good players, but they're players you feel like they're fit. They're fit into the ethos of the club, etc. Sam Bellis has also come in from Waterford FC. So, you know, it's a very Munster looking side, and you can see them settling quickly as a result. They recently beat Cork City 2-1 in the Munster Cup as well. Cork City lined out a strong side there too. They've lost some players, of course. Both Larkins went to Wexford. But they haven't really, like, who else have they really lost? Like, you know what I mean? That's a first team player that you would say. I don't think they've lost anyone. So they look very, very strong. Very strong for me personally. Up front, they're going to have two options, good options. Cian Murphy and Bosniak, I think, as well, is going to be a serious option for them too. And they still have the likes of Dale Holland and Brendan Frahel and Jason Abbott and players like that at the club too. So I'm looking forward to... Can they win it though? I think if they get off to a very decent start, I think they're a serious contender. The only thing for me which is holding me back is that they're not quite full time. That doesn't mean they won't be training well, etc. But that might be the difference between them and Dundalk. They're a serious contender. I'd be shocked actually if they finish outside the bottom two or the first two. So you might say there's a bit of pressure there, but that experience is vital. You've got players who performed in the first division that they've brought in. You've got players that played on the same team as each other, about 5 or 6 of them. You know, and even Niall O'Keefe and Shane Griffin have played in the same team at Waterford. So I think you can't underestimate that. And I think for that reason, they're the little differences for me in Athlone. And for that reason, I've got Cobh Ramblers in second place. I suppose the key players, it's difficult to pick. And so many good players have brought in. You could name 3 different key players to the ones I picked. But I've gone for Niall O'Keefe. So I have Shane Griffin, defender Shane Griffin, and Cian Coleman. They bring a lot of leadership and experience to that team. So yeah, for me, Cobh Ramblers in second place. So obviously Dundalk are going to be champions for me, and look, they've had a rough time, to say the very least. I don't see them finishing outside the top 2, if I'm honest. I'd be shocked if they didn't. Of course, they have a new manager at the club. He knows the club very well, Kieran Kilduff. I suppose we'll start talking about their signs. Dean Ebbe's come in for Athlone, obviously scored a lot of goals for them last season. I think he's a big sign. I think they're going to I can see them playing him up front and young Kenny in behind them this season. Harry Groom, excellent midfielder from Bray Wanderers. Minogue, good goalkeeper from Athlone. The likes of Arubi's come in from Waterford. Conor Keefe gives good experience from Galway. Sean McHale is a good young player. He's come on loan from St Patrick's Athletic, previously on loan at Wexford last season. Keith Ward, good experience, obviously, from Glen Avon, etc., was at the club before. They're just some of the signs they made. Of course, they've lost players. They're always going to lose players. relegating to the first division, etc., and the financial state they're in. So the likes of Andy Boyle, Ryan O'Kane, John Mountney, Jade Hakiki have all left the club. Robbie Benson, of course, as well. That was always going to happen. But they've managed to keep some important players at the club too. A. Dervin, obviously Owen Kenny, I mentioned before there as well. Horgan's going to be a big player for them this season, I believe, as well. I think he could take the first division by storm. He's got a great attitude, still a really good player. I think they've enough there. I really do. I think they've enough there in their squad that they can go on and win the league. Not as comfortably as you've seen league champions do in the last few years, I believe. And at worst, I see them finishing second. But I do think they might pip Cobh Ramblers to this league title. For me, Dundalk, champions, like key players for me. I think Daryl Horgan is clearly a key player. I think Owen Kenny's going to do really well in this league. And Dean Ebbe, I think, is going to score goals in this team also. So let me know what you think, guys. Let me know what you think in the comments. Very important. Who's going to win the league? Who's going to get into the playoffs? How is your club going to do? Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.